Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you on this Thursday morning. Welcome to Penn Vicarage. Hope you're well and cheerful, and welcome to our Bible talk for this morning. We are in John's Gospel and chapter 8 and just the last few verses now. The context is Jesus is in Jerusalem having a conversation, and some people like him and some people really don't. And the conversation continues between Jesus and the Jewish authorities and the crowds and so on, and it goes like this. This is John's Gospel, chapter 8, starting to read at verse 48. The Jews answered him, "Are we not right in saying that you're a Samaritan and have a demon?" Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honour my Father, and you dishonour me. Yet I do not seek my own glory. There's one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Very truly I tell you, whoever keeps my word will never see death." The Jews said to him, "Now we know you have a demon. Abraham died, and so did the prophets, yet you say, whoever keeps my word will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died? The prophets also died. Who do you claim to be?" Jesus answered, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It's my Father who glorifies me, he of whom you say, he is our God, though you do not know him. But I know him. If I would say I do not know him, I'd be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I keep his word. Your ancestors to Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He rejoiced, he saw it, and was glad." Then the Jews said to him, "Are you not yet 50 years old? Have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, before Abraham was, I am." So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, tough passage. I'll try and make some sense of it for you. One of the $60 million questions that we all have to face in our life is, who do we think Jesus is? We had that discussion at the Alpha course last week. It's a fascinating and an intriguing discussion. Who do we think Jesus is? Is Jesus a good man? Is he even a bad man? Is he a prophet? Or is he more than that? Is he divine? It's a discussion, and we have to make up our own mind on what we think about that. That's what this morning's discussion is all about. And let's say from the beginning that there are some people in the crowd who really don't like him very much. And they resort to what's effectively verbal abuse. So they stop by calling him a Samaritan, which is like calling him a foreign heretic, really. It's not very nice. Then, of course, they say he's demon-possessed. That's not very nice either. Then they pour doubt on his parentage, shall we say. "We know who our father is." I think that's not very nice language, that isn't there, really? And of course, to make it worse, they call him old too. They say, "Are you not yet 50 years old?" Jesus was only in his early 30s. They call anyone who's in their early 30s 50, they wouldn't take it very nice. That's just not nice, is it? So they resort to what's basically verbal abuse. But who is Jesus? And then this discussion happens between Jesus and them. And Jesus then, in a sense, goes to explain, to show who he is. He starts by saying, I am the real deal because I glorify God and God glorifies me. So I'm not in it for myself. I'm here because I'm here to glorify God and God glorifies me, my Father, as he says. And then he goes on to say his intriguing words, "Whoever believes in me will never see death." And more on that another time. But the Jews take badly to this and they say, look, hang on a minute. Look at all the people in the past. Look at all the prophets. They all died. Abraham, all the other great people of the past, they've all died. Are you saying you're better than them? And Jesus comes up with these fascinating response, and he says, "Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it and was glad." Now this is a fascinating phrase, and to explain it, you've got to get your Old Testament really. And this talks about the time when Abraham, who, to be fair, did live about 2,000 years ago. So it's an interesting thing to say, before Abraham rejoiced to see that he would see my day. Abraham met God, and God told him that he was going to be the father of many nations, and that through him, all the families of the earth will be blessed. He was told that he was going to have as many sons and daughters as the grains of sand on the sea and as many stars in the sky. Lovely promise. Just one problem. Abraham and his wife were 99 years old, and she'd never had any children, and she was barren. How could it possibly be? And yet, God does it, and she does become pregnant, and she gives birth. And I suppose, as any person would who's given birth at the tender age of 100, it's quite funny, and they laugh. And that's why they call the child, the son, Isaac, because Isaac, if you didn't know, literally means laughter. That's what it means, because it says it's mildly amusing. It's very amusing that someone gives birth at the tender age of 100. And so they rejoice because their son has been born, and that through this, the seed of Abraham can continue, and the promise can be fulfilled. But the promise was totally fulfilled when it came to Jesus, okay? Because the seed went down and down, now Isaac, Jacob, and so on and so on and so on. And then, of course, in Jesus, who was one of their sort of great, etc., grandchild, the full promise happened. And that because in Jesus, the full blessing happens. In Jesus, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So the reason Abraham and Sarah rejoiced was because they had a son, and through that son's descendants, Jesus would be born, and in him, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So they laughed because it was an incredible thing that happened, but they rejoiced also because the promise will be fulfilled, and ultimately it came fulfillment in Jesus, because in Jesus, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So Father Abraham did rejoice that he would see the day of Jesus. But it goes on further, because they say, you're not yet 50 years old. How can this possibly have happened? And Jesus comes in with this incredible phrase. He says, I tell you the truth. He says, truly, truly, I tell you, he says, before Abraham was, I am. And this is the final straw for the Jewish authorities. And let me explain to you why. Again, it's Old Testament. And it goes back to Moses in the book of Exodus. The people of God were enslaved in Egypt, and one day God appeared to Moses in this bizarre thing, this burning bush, this bush which is burning. And God speaks to Moses out of the burning bush. And he says, go and tell the people that they're going to be set free, and go and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. That's what he says. And then Moses says to God, who's speaking to him this incredible way out of the burning bush, he says, who shall I say sent me? And God responds, when they ask you, say, I am who I am sent you. Now, that's become translated as Yahweh, or some people incorrectly call it Jehovah. And sometimes in the Old Testament, you might see it spelt out in capital letters, L-O-R-D, Lord. It's kind of the big name for God. Who sent me? I am who I am. So when Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am, that's what he's talking about. And although it might not be obvious to us in the English language, he's effectively saying, I am divine. I am God. Which is why the Jewish authorities pick up stones to throw at him to kill him, because in their eyes, he committed blasphemy. So, we come back to the original question. Who is Jesus? Because there was clearly some people there that didn't like him at all. But what does Jesus do to show that he is who he is? Firstly, he talks about the fact that he's there to give glory to God, and that God has put him where he is. So he's there to glorify God, and God is with him. That's the first thing he says. Then he says, Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day, because he knew that in Isaac, and thus Jesus, all the families of the earth will be blessed. He could see that this promise will be fulfilled, that in Jesus, that promise that all the families of the earth will be blessed, the big blessing would come to us all. And finally, what did Jesus say about himself? Before Abraham was, I am. Big thing to say about yourself. Jesus clearly felt that he was more than just a human being. The question for us is, who do we think Jesus is today? Difficult passage this morning.